Welcome to the Compromise to Alchemized podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Neil Bolton Donnie. I'm excited as you join me in this journey to listen to my conversations with some of the leading experts in the field of healing from a broad range of disciplines. Greetings and welcome to this interview with Brooke Brown. I'm really excited for it. We had a blast. We delved into a lot, and yet there's so much more that we could have talked about. We really focused on Brooke's specialty. She is a licensed massage therapist, but she's got expertise in issues related to Clubfoot, and it is actually the journey of her son Bennett being born with severe bilateral clubfoot that led her on a journey to become not only more aware of how she needed to bring him to these different practitioners. I'll mention the 100,000 miles of travel they did as a family with seeing over, 20, 30 practitioners. And she studied with some experts and has become one. She also has quite a lot of knowledge about primitive reflexes. And then we talk about the Bennett Method, named after her son, which she emerges, of course, a lot of different disciplines. And we mention the experience that she has with not only the flex casting, and the casting part of that is very specific to the French method, which has to do with movement and stretching. But she also involves different kinds of body work, including um, she mentions fascial care. She on her website, she talks about craniosacral therapy as well as the floor of the mouth technique, the floor four. She was at my training in Chicago. She had already taken my online course, but came in person to take the training. I met her amazing family, husband Jeremy, and her kids. Her son did some video work for me. So it is amazing. I really think that they're a phenomenal family who is journeying in this together. And they have, so of course, Brooke and Jeremy have 5 kids. Jordan was the one who did the video. I don't know, too many amazing things to mention about this family. They were such a help, but such brilliant and powerful and poignant people in what they're doing in their life mission. So we talk about Brooke's life mission. We talk about her not only being a practitioner but a mom, but then merging those and being such a great resource and helping moms find their voices, have their voices for what they need to trust in terms of their instincts, intuition, and following those um, pathways to promote healing in their own lives and for their families. So, um, there's perhaps more to mention. I know that Brooke will mention this. She does that. She's spent some time working with Josh Madsen, who's been on the podcast at Infinity Wellness Centers in Des Moines, Iowa. And so while Brooke and her family are in Sioux Falls, Idaho, so anybody looking for a great resource for there, you have her there. But she'll also be traveling to Des Moines to do work there for Josh and his team. So that's amazing. And um, if I'm missing anything, just know that this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Um, and I'm excited to have Brooke come on again to talk about more as we journey together in collaboration. So enjoy the episode, dig in, and prepare to be enlivened. And also, would love for you to comment on the podcast in the comments to tell us how you like it. All right, Brooke, I'm so excited to have you virtually on. I am always enjoying our conversations, and I just want to start out by saying, as we delve into like your story and our paths overlapping, you have one of the most gracious families that I've come across. Like you yourself, your husband and your kids. I'm just going to tell the moment of like, you had taken one of my courses, but then you know, you decided to come to the Chicago Floor of the Mouth training where we met in person for the first time in August, well, just last month. And then you had offered, like, just in case you need anything, we're happy to help. And I do know a lot of kind people, but you, your husband, and your kids went above and beyond to just
Mm.
truly mean that and be gracious, be amazingly you found lost coffee. I think one of them found the lost coffee, your husband, that I couldn't because the Uber driver. So, I mean, it went from what's going on with this lost coffee to overshadowing by you all having such huge hearts. And I know that's just who you are. So I'm gonna make sure I talk
Oh,
about it a lot. And yeah, so Brooke, just awesome to
well,
have you
thank
here.
you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
It's great to
So
be here, and likewise, it's been fantastic to get to know you, get to know your work, and all that you're doing, and to be able to learn from you has been such a blessing to me in my practice. And my family was likewise. We were so excited to meet you, and just your giving heart as well. So thank you for having me.
yeah, well, I feel like this conversation can go so many ways. But if it's okay to ask you right away, because I got the pleasure of meeting Bennett, your son, and getting to you allowed him to be a demo patient for the training, and I thought it was really cool, just to get to meet him, but also, as I love to meet like families and just get to know you all, and well, I had the benefit of coming over to your home the evening before, I think it was, yeah, to spend time together, and that
Yep.
was really cool to get to know you around the fire. So that that was really cool. But yeah, can you tell me, because I've looked at your website before you came to the training, and I was like, what a great story, that came
Mm.
out of like need. But if you wouldn't mind telling us right away, what is the Bennett method, and then who is Bennett?
Yeah. So Bennett is one of my five boys. I have five boys total. He is four now, and he was born with severe bilateral clubfoot. And through our journey, even just with just getting the diagnosis, and then knowing my background, I just felt not just called, but I felt called to heal my son. And then with that, helping mothers reclaim their God given intuition, instead of outsourcing all their motherly intuitions and not just going with what everyone says we should do. And that's really what got me into what I'm doing now. And the Bennett method was created as we were going through um, our own journey with that. And so now, I love helping, like I said, mothers and children, no matter what, if they have a diagnosis or not, if there's just things that aren't going smoothly. I want moms to thrive and babies to thrive in that first season of life and to be able to enjoy that. And so, the Bennett method, we have gone to lots of different doctors. I've gone through lots of different trainings, and I've kind of just compiled all these tools together, and specifically helping him, not just his feet to look normal, because that's what most people are looking at when you're looking at clubfoot, but even looking at the brain and the full body altogether. So we incorporate, if it is casting, specific dynamic flex casting, stretching and taping from the French functional method, and then obviously body work and fascial care and things like that. So we just compile it all together, and we said, here's the Bennett method, because if I could do it all over again, this is the way I would do it.
Yeah, I love it, and I just think, um, I love what you kind of also have said, because I I got to pour over kind of some of the way you worded things, and it's like it is a method, but it's not about the method. It's really about what you said. It's about uncovering, allowing that intuition to
Mm.
shine, the God-given intuition to shine, so that people can have a way through to find what they need in healing. But I love how
Mm-hmm.
you kind of incorporate, like you have incorporated like nutrition, you've incorporated primitive reflex therapy, and I just know some of the, I know the stat I read that blew me away was like 100,000 miles and 35 practitioners. Like you traveled to, and that both takes like a lot of humility. I know there's just like a mom, a parent wanting to figure things out, and
Mhm.
healthy desperation, I guess, is what I would call that. And
Absolutely.
and then just like you weren't going to quit. And also, anybody who studies and pursues that much is, as we say, we're students for life, and the best pathway to mastery is to always be a student. So I feel like
Absolutely.
you obviously very much carry that and show that in so many ways. So it's really inspiring to see that.
Thank
Um,
you.
that's why I think your Bennett method is probably like, it started with 5 things or however many you started. Well, you gotta add floor of the mouth. Now you gotta add floor of the mouth, the floor 4, and, like, before you get done, it's gonna be like, no, I'm just kidding. It's not everything under the sun, of course,
No.
and
Yeah.
but, yeah, so, I mean, so there's kinda like the what and the why in, like, what led you on that journey, um,
Mhm.
and can you give us more of, like, how I know that this started with, like, you wanna be that like agent of change for others, the healing source resource, but also not just that, like somebody who really helps others find their own like healing and voices. um Kind of, if you look back, maybe I'm going to jump right at the question that I sometimes wait till later, but how does this tie into your personal legend? How does this tie
Oh.
into like what you knew, what you're on this planet to do?
Mhm.
And for those who don't know, in the book The Alchemist, this old king tells Santiago, the protagonist, when the universe conspires in your favor when you are in pursuit of your personal legend, and that means personal legend means like that what you are to do, and how do you know like you're on that path. So
Mm.
I'm just laying it out there now, just so you can jump in.
Yeah, no, I love the word pursuit because we're always in pursuit of something, whether it's healing, whether it's growth or understanding. If we're not actively pursuing something, we should be. And that's how we find our purpose, I think. If we're not activated and we're not activating ourselves into finding that, how do we know, right? So life, I think, is always constantly we're in this pursuit of finding that. And that's where I found what I'm doing now. My core mission is to, like I said before, I really want to inspire moms to trust their inner knowing while providing them with whatever care I may have knowledge on. But really just giving them that torch back, and just helping families heal, if it's one family member or if it's multiple, in the family. Our children show us so much. Our children are gifts from the Lord, and we, as mothers, we are equipped with everything we need to help them thrive. Sometimes we just need extra support. And that's truly like my personal legend is being able to bridge that gap between God's design for healing and a mother's like intuitive knowing of what that might be. And like I said, when Bennett was born with Clubfoot, I felt called. I didn't just feel like I have to do this. It was more of a calling, and understanding that my intuition is maybe not the same as someone else that might be going through something similar for their child because their child might need something different. Um, so yeah,
Well, I would love to. First of all, that is it's yeah, it's a powerful mission. I'm 100% behind it. I'm a fan, and I'm also like everybody else on the planet. Like I couldn't have done. I couldn't have been born without my mom, my dad too. But it's just like mothers have this power of, you just have the nurture and the heal that comes through you. So
absolutely.
I would love to know, for especially those who kind of, I know you have like a broad range of things that you support families in, but could
Mhm.
you tell us more, like break down Clubfoot for us,
Mm,
explain that, and then whether you talk about dynamics flex casting and how in that, or French method, can you go into that more for us?
absolutely, yeah. So severe bilateral clubfoot. is a malformation of the feet. It has all three complexes within the foot. So a lot of the times when you're looking at casting specifically, there's usually only one complex with that. And with Clubfoot, you have all three complexes in it. So it does, I mean, it's in the word, it's complex.
Hmm.
And his was pretty severe. He was very tight as an infant. And that is a compromised state, right? We talk about compromise to alchemize, and that is a compromised state, but being able to know and be thinking about, I want him to get into this state and this moment where he can be running and jumping and be like any other child. Um, and going back to Clubfoot, and dynamic flex casting specifically, that the technique of that is just we align the foot. We don't stretch. We don't do anything like you think of serial casting sometimes, where you're just cranking and trying to get as much range of motion as you can possibly get. Specifically, dynamic flex casting is all about alignment of every single bone in the foot. So it's very unique in that sense. The gal that I learned from, the doctor I learned from, is amazing, Dr. Maria Ferrer. She trained under Poncetti himself actually in Iowa. And when I learned from her, that was such a blessing and it came at a time that we needed. And we got to utilize that for Bennett at the right time. I don't think I would have done it any sooner than what we did. And then it got him truly up and running and walking on his 2 feet without being fully supinated, which like the outsides of his feet he was walking on, and couldn't really have any stability at that time. So that was a huge tool for us at the beginning there. The first about year and a half is when we started that.
And when you were maybe just kind of going back, like,
Yeah.
oh, remind me, did you, who was the first one to kind of observe the clubfoot and tell you, or how did you discover that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we found out that it was most likely going to be there when he was born at our 20-week ultrasound.
Okay.
And they say, it could be wrong, it could just be positioning, but we don't know until baby comes out. And when he came out and I saw those little feet, it was just like, all right, this is the journey we're on. And I didn't love him any differently, any less. It was just, okay, here we go. Like if anyone's listening to this and they have somebody that has Clubfoot or is going to have, or they're going to have, like they have a friend that I encourage them to take photos. The feet change so fast as you're in transitioning the feet into their alchemized state. It's I'm so glad we have photos of them because you forget where you came from with it and then how
Mhm.
far you've come. So yeah,
Well, I know you're already, um, a resource, but I'm excited for anybody who does come across this that they'll be able to like reach out to you and have
yeah,
someone who can help them with this. And even there's a lot of parents out there, as you've run across them, in the age of prevention, or not even prevention, preparedness, like just knowing, like in situations, um or instances where you find out, like, how can you be ready with at least mental preparedness, but also um some steps and keys. So I know that I'm excited for people to kind of reach out. We'll make sure we're going to share all your info in the show notes and everything. But maybe to go back to that moment where you had that ultrasound and so I kind of want to like speak to the mother and then also the practitioner
sure,
that you are, and you
yeah.
don't have to separate them because you're not two people, you're one person. In that moment where you found out, like, or kind of like overall from the moment you found out, maybe when they had the ultrasound to when he was born, like how did you journey with your heart to like preparedness, and um how did you carry that knowledge? How did
Mhm.
that sit with you? And any of that I would love to hear.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Because that was such a huge thing for my husband and I. We didn't leave the hospital and that ultrasound without stopping, praying together and saying, we believe that God can heal him before he comes out if this is what he has been diagnosed with. But we're not going to let it steal our joy and the second half of our pregnancy. And honestly, there was moments where I had, and I've talked about this before with others, where I was on my kitchen floor and I just got down on my knees and I said, Lord, this is your child. You've gifted him to me and this is your will. Like do what you will with this. But if this is the journey we're on, then I'm all in. And I had to get to that point. I was at that point, I was just full of tears. I was like, I can't do anything but give him back to the Lord. And, you know, yes, was there a mental battle the rest of our pregnancy? But yes, of course there was. But I definitely, my husband was a great supporter in this too, of just being able to enjoy the pregnancy. And we knew that we wanted a healthy baby, but if he was healthy and had a clubfoot, so be it. So that kind of carried us through the second half of the pregnancy. We didn't do any more testing. We didn't do any more ultrasounds. We just were like, we want to have peace with it. Um, so that really carried us. Our faith did in that big time. And then once he was there, then it was like game on. I was researching. I mean, I probably knew, my husband always says she knew more about Clubfoot by the time we left the hospital than most people do. And
Yeah.
I just was trying to find any and every resource that I could, and just trying to see patterns and trying to see, like, well, why is everyone saying this? And why do I want that for my child? And really being able to go against the grain on some things that I was like, I don't think that that's right for us. And so that was kind of the journey leading up until then. And like I said, when he came out, it was just like I was in love all over again.
Yeah. All of that. Um, yeah, it's so powerful just to think about, how you and your husband unified, came together, and
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you said that. You wouldn't leave the hospital. You didn't
Mm-hmm.
without praying together and making those, declarations of what was important. And so inevitably and undoubtedly that provides such a deep scaffolding for your pregnancy, for this little one, for Bennett, that that there is a strong um and there's so much to say about that. There tons of studies show not just how it's helpful from an emotional level, but the dramatic influence that you have as a mom and that you have as a couple, because it's not just about the mom's responsibility, it's the couple, it's the village, it's like all of you, but that you
Absolutely.
bring Bennett into this world with that huge source of support. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to delve more into that, but I also want to just make sure that we mentioned it with your, and I, of course, touch on it. But if you named like three top three other things you love to help patients with, people with, families with, I know it's all connected and in that, but can you give me that top three other things that you love to help families with, in addition to journeying with Clubfoot?
Well, that's a great question. Because I find joy in helping anyone in any part of
Yeah.
their journey. But I really love um, helping kiddos that struggle with, really it comes down to their primitive reflexes still being there, and
Hmm.
helping integrate those reflexes, um, because it's so profound the things that you can see with that. The neurological part of it is just wild. I've seen it in my boys first and foremost, but then to be able to get text messages from moms being like, I would have never thought we would have been here 3, 4 months ago, and they're sending me videos of their kid riding a bike, or they're getting reports from school that they're on task and they're paying attention and they're getting awards now for it. And those things, because I know how those little things add up as a mom, that they make such a difference. Or, another one that comes to mind is a young one that she can't even wash her daughter's hair or do her hair because she can't even lean her head back far enough without her moral reflex just coming into play and her just getting so anxious about that. And for a mom and daughter to be able to do hair together, like that's amazing. Like those things matter. Like those build core memories for moms and kids and families as a whole, not just the mothers. And so I love that component of it, and I think that that overarches pretty much everything I do, because whether it's the fascia that I'm working on, um, all of it encompasses going back to those primitive reflexes and being able to open that up, and it opens up a whole new world for these kids and babies, to hit milestones, or just to be a happier baby and not be such a fussy, colicky baby. Um, which I could get into that. But there's no such thing as colicky babies.
Right.
They just
Yeah.
need some support. And those are probably my favorite things is just focusing on the fascia and working on being able to get the brain on board properly.
Yeah. When those are yeah, I mean we have such like a resonance into and how because like when you're there with a person, like I just love helping. So I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever it is that somebody comes in with, you know, like that's my favorite thing
right.
because you just care about people, and yet I know that that's why I'm highlighting what you do is because when you have, you know, done the Malcolm Gladwell, what is it, 10,000 hours or whatever it is, when you've
Yeah.
done that pathway in pursuit of mastery on something, because for you, it's like you chose to align yourself with what was. And it's not like you picked out this thing to study about. You did it
Mhm.
due to like what you knew as you were being beckoned into. Well, you chose to become somebody who knows about this to such a degree that we've got to call you an expert in this. And
Mm.
then so in that way, I know you're always learning, but I want people to you know make it crystal clear that you have specialty in this. Therefore, you think about it, you pour over it, you investigate it. You not
Yeah.
only look at that, well, which we could talk about the two main things of primitive reflexes and or clubfoot, but you look at how does that find it responds to other things like fascial work and
Mhm.
nutrition, etc. And of course, we could talk about nervous system and nervous system
Yeah.
regulation and that part in there, which is hand in hand with primitive reflexes. I know. So it's
Yes.
such a big term and foundational concept to speak about primitive reflexes, which I know I gave you a shout out. I wanted to make sure people knew about your work, along with a few others, when I interviewed Pam Curley just
Mm.
recently because she's co-founder of the Muscatova Neural Reflex Integration Institute and
Amazing.
brilliant. And of course, I also got to talk with Josh a while back on the podcast. That is,
I remember that. Yeah.
and I know you reached out. You shot me an Instagram message once you saw that because of your, and you can, you could say because of your, work with him, and love to put this in the category of what have you been up to and what are you up to now? I mean, we when I was talking to Josh, he was just raving about like your
Oh,
work and what you do, um, and how excited he was that you're able to bring your knowledge to um, his arena. And so, can you talk any more about that? I'd love to have you share some on that.
yeah, absolutely. First of all, like I look back and I'm like, if you would have told me I would have been here 4 years ago, I'd have been like, what in the world? There's no way. And I even started this journey as saying like, hey, I'm in class in these trainings and I'm just a mom, which we know that that's the greatest thing I could ever do is be a
Yeah.
mother. But I just, first of all, I just like, I am like, thank you so much for, saying those things because it's truly, I'm like, who am I? Like, here we are though, and I'm very blessed to even be mentioned with your name and all the other names that you just mentioned. So I appreciate that. But yeah, we have been traveling still. I have been taking lots of more training. I always want to be bettering myself and learning either the like newest thing or just making sure that I'm keeping myself sharp so I can bring that back to my patients and really help them the best that I can. But through our traveling this last year, I had the opportunity to go and work at Infinity with Dr. Josh Madsen for about 4 weeks. And we were like, hey, let's just try it. He had some patients he'd like me to cast. And I was like, let's go. We were on the road quite often, which my family is loves being on the road now. And so moving forward now, I get to be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, very part-time. And then we're going to be in Des Moines at Infinity, and I will be joining their team there, and then being able to bring all my knowledge there as well because what they're doing there is amazing. And the people that they're reaching across the world is just super cool to see. And so I'm very honored and blessed to be able to do that very, very soon. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's and it's just a super amazing, beautiful, small world. But I like to say it's not a small world, it's like connected world. And
Yes,
when you are in pursuit of your personal legend, the universe, the collective people, the community, the village, the we come together and we're supporting one
absolutely.
another, complementing one another. So yeah, I know you all have some infinity time together where you're all it's like a big team, right? And I
Hmm.
kind of sneakily tried to invite myself to into the next meeting, but no, I'm like I think it's like next year I'll be coming out to spend time with you all. But
Oh,
yeah, i'm
fun.
i'm really excited about just hearing more about your world and Josh's with Infinity combining even more. And we got excited too. Josh and I were talking about how once you found out you were thinking of coming to my floor of the mouth training, he's like, "Well, yeah, now I'm gonna, you're gonna like bring some of that and have you share on some of that." So I'd love to know, kind of, I want to ask you that, like, how did you? I mean, in the way that you are viewing kind of these areas of continually learning and bringing that into your fold of like how you can be equipped as a practitioner and also as a mom, but as a practitioner who then guides others. Okay, what are the ways that the floor four in my
Mm.
training kind of brought anything to you and resource you? Like, how did that sit with you, and what did you take away?
Yeah. I absolutely loved your training. So if anyone's listening to this and is on the fence, you need to take it because it was profound for me. Even though I was already in the fascial world and I was already seeing connections between the mouth and elsewhere in the body, and it was like I was starting to see things, especially in Bennett, because there was such a connection between his feet and his mouth. But now that I've been able to implement it with other clients of mine, you know, it felt like it was kind of the missing puzzle piece, if I can say that. Um, I'd been searching for even with all of my patients, I'm getting quicker results already and connecting dots that I probably wasn't connecting fully. And it's really like bringing everything together now for me. So, like I said, faster results. I think a deeper understanding of observations that I'm finding, whether it be structural or, in development, and just integrating all of that I've already known with it has just been really profound. Like it has been a really cool thing to see a lot of complex cases as well. Um, just very the complex cases I feel like have greater precision now, and I can get to those quicker. So that would be, my biggest thing after taking the course. And then, you know, I'm such a hands-on person that I have to I love being hands-on, and that was such a big thing for me. And now, being able to take your course and now implement it has just been really fun the last few weeks. Because it
Yeah.
hasn't been that long since we were together and since I took it, and I met with you in Chicago. So it's just been really neat, and I'm excited to see how that even connects even more as the months go on. And I have new cases that I get to bring that to.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. Yeah, really beautiful. I like to hear that. Well, I mean, not just the good, but I mean, I love to
Yeah.
hear you did an amazing job of telling me so many good things that I love to hear. But I really love where it's a very simple distilled flow,
Yes.
and then it could be put inside of like a framework like you have
Mhm.
with yours, and just become as little or as much as it wants to be. And you may use it a tiny bit one time and facilitates simplicity with complex cases, or other times you might get lost in the flow of the floor four and just keep going, and it could
Yes.
take over more time out of one session or a series of sessions. But I love when somebody like you has already like a really keen sense of intuition. And because a lot of times I hear the thing of like, yeah, I was seeing that, and that makes sense, and that really
Mhm.
confirms. And I love that because I'm like, yeah, I feel like it's just a way to navigate in a very simple flow that, sure, there's more outside of that that's needed. And um but yeah, so it's really good to hear like already. I mean, yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago, I think, is when the training was. And
Mhm.
so I'm excited to see in the weeks to months ahead what
Yeah.
how it does, and kind of what shows up to you. And then um I'm always looking for the feedback, because I'm like, okay, I see so much, and then I put it in someone like your hands, and you use it on areas with people with conditions and situations that I might not come across, and then it's gonna just become
Yeah.
even more than it was with kind of when it came through me as a download.
Mhm.
Um, oh, and yeah, you mentioned yeah, so that was my last official event of this year. I'm happy to be done with the tour at home, Santa Barbara. But I have alluded to next year, when it's right, it's going to be in Santa Barbara. So definitely, I encourage people who are interested, stay tuned, because once I find out the exact times and all of that, it's going to be really fun to roll out in 2026 the floor of the mouth training, the floor four training, but in Santa Barbara. So if you want to learn, you have to come to a beautiful place with a beach and
Why not?
Mediterranean climate. So just in case.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. And I just want to, kudos to you and you being able to share. I love the way you shared what you had learned and you're sharing the floor for, but then allowing others like myself to be able to fit that into what we are already doing. So you don't feel like you're bringing something very profound and new to it, but you're also bringing something that you're just like elevating what you already do. And whether we had lots of different backgrounds in class, and it was just really neat to see
Mhm.
how everyone can integrate this into their own practice uniquely. And that
Yeah.
was very very neat to see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to pass up on the part two about in the roundup time. I like to bring everybody into a circle to kind
Hmm.
of get into some more of like, for those who haven't had the experience of learning to trust, tune into their bodies with interoception, and even
Yeah.
exteroception, listening to the sounds around us and develop the intuition. Um, it was fun to see some people who hadn't done that, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
which to not go into those details is because um, it was now it's like a tease. For those who weren't there, I'm not going to talk about it at all. That sounds really, but no, what would you say? What did you take? That's my way of teaching intuitive empathy, of
Yeah.
saying, look, this training isn't about my floor four, my technique, my technique, my technique. It is about what you do, how this fits inside of that. But even more than that, I'm like, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this is really about enabling you, equipping you all, us all, to tune in more to that voice, to
Mhm.
the intuition. And so, I would love to know, like, how did you feel that part fit in for you? What did you experience in that time? And
Mm.
then I would love to go from there to say, um, keys that you could give to people on how to tap in as well.
Oh, I love that. So I have to say that when we got done and my husband, he's like, "How did the last day go?" He asked me and I was like, "Jeremy, this was like the best training I think I've ever been at." And I truly, truly mean that because of what you did with that piece of it.
Mm,
I think a lot of the times as providers, we forget about ourselves because we're so worried, not worried, we're very passionate about what we do and we don't go introspective. We don't tune into ourselves as much as we should. And I try and do that. I do a lot of grounding. I mean, the sun is right here on me now. I try and do a lot of just basic care. Get myself in the sun, ground myself, and that was so good for me because I was like, I need to tune in during my sessions too, to myself so that I can be as present as I can. I love that we kind of did that and I think we talked about that in class a little bit of, being able to truly be present no matter what is happening around or in our life. Like that is what we are there to serve right now during that hour or whatever that time frame is. Even if it's a half hour, I can really be effective during that time. And it was just really neat to really tune into myself and feel the difference even between the first day and feeling just the way my feet felt grounded and I thought I was already grounded and then by the second day I was like, wow, I needed this just as much as the people I serve need this. And so that was a lot of fun to see, but I think it was truly one of the best trainings
mm,
overall because we had space to do that and then also learn.
yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's so much to, like, what you said is, um that we need to, none of us has an abundant, or let me phrase it this way. There's not one of us who, is always overflowing. And even if we are, and we're present, even if we are grounded and we feel our feet on the ground, it's amazing how much more of our feet can feel connected to the ground, because even if our feet are flat, but is our mind that infills our perception, as aware of the nooks and crannies on the foot that are making contact with the ground. And it's like we can only increase in our ability to be attuned and aware of something. And that's why I think it's like, just like you, who is, you're always learning, never stopping,
Mhm.
continuing to learn, even though you know a lot. It's like, but there's no end to what we can lay a hold of. And I'm not saying this means everybody needs to go out and do 100,000 miles and study under 35,
Yeah,
practitioners. Like, you've done the work, so others don't need to. You
that's
want
right.
you want 100,000 or 120,000, or let's add to it whatever you've done since then, and
Yeah,
40 practitioners, and go to Brooke and get 100,000 and 40. You can get that without having to do the work yourself. So
yeah,
shout out to people. Um, that's one of the greatest models of efficiency, is to find someone who has been there, who's done that, and seek
Absolutely.
wisdom. So I know people would come a long way by seeking your wisdom. And in that vein, um, yeah, whether it's like some of what we learned or also the way you do this, as as a mom of five, as a parent of five, as married, and then you have that, and then you have kids, and they might be running around in the practice. And I just
Mhm.
know we're resonating in a lot with the way we care for kids because I'm like, I'm gonna get on the floor, I'm gonna run around, I'm gonna dance, whatever, and I'll be
Yep.
working on them while we're doing that, right? But, not everybody knows that that's a way we can be. Some
Yeah.
people feel like we need to take ourselves too seriously. So it's like,
Right. Right.
how would you speak to practitioners who are like, "How can I just get used to being around kids more and taking care of them with interoception, with tuning in?" Like, how would you guide someone in that journey?
That's a great question. I'm laughing too at what you're saying because I mean I've had kiddos in my kitchen sink because they love water and we're gonna do the work in the water. Like we're gonna have any way we can get this done, like let's get it done. And kids are so pure and so um they're gonna tell you how it is. They're gonna tell you if they're not liking something. So give them that space. Respect them. They're human. Like even though they're young, like give them some of that give and take. I always tell people like as you're working with a child, um, you know, find what they love and then press into that so that you can get more work done for them because ultimately they're going to be better on the other side of it, right? And as providers, I think there's a lot of either you don't deal with the younger ones a lot, start to just put yourself out there and try it. Even if it's people that you know and they already kind of trust you just to get yourself used to it a little bit. If you're a parent, obviously, like use your own children. If you're not, ask ask a friend, hey, can I just kind of play and work on them as we're playing? And that's the biggest thing with kiddos is I think like you said, like us practitioners can sometimes take ourselves too seriously. And I get on the floor and I am the weirdest, goofiest person and but I don't care because I'm getting to them. Like I'm making a connection with them. I'm building trust with them. And that's the biggest thing. Like I always tell moms or parents when they come in, this first visit, we're going to get as much work done as we can, but it's really about building trust with them so that next time, maybe we don't work in the mouth the first time. Maybe we do some other things and then we built enough trust that next time we can play around with it and we can kind of get used to that a little bit more. So obviously they're in control. I always tell moms that like the kids are really the ones who are in control, but how we navigate that, just try and be like childlike yourself when you're in it. And they usually warm up a little bit that way.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. It's a great picture. Like kids are in your sink, and you're like, hey, let's go with that, right? Because
Yep.
you have two choices: either graciously or not graciously divert them back to a table, or
Yes.
you know and I can't help but think like a kid. I'm like, that's so boring, why would we want to do that, right? It's like,
Right.
or you can say like, ooh, like, I know you do, like, the water has them. And whether you're a practitioner who's like, that's beautiful, and I love the way that the water has them and the play has them, because that's a perfect
Hmm.
way to get a place to start with this person. Or maybe you're a practitioner who is not, you don't have to be oozing love and adoration for that part, but you can be
Right.
like, water has them, ooh, tactically now I can get in there and do some work. Because also
Absolutely.
there's days when I'm like, I would just like be amazed and enamored by the way they look at water and talk about water. The other
Hmm.
days I'm like, that's cool, but I just want to get them to a place where I know they want to be because I care about them, and that's why they came in. And
Yeah.
mom and dad's over there, like, they came from however far away, and while they appreciate their time with me, it's a
Mhm.
cost, it's an expense, and it's
Mhm.
time, and it's a lot for a family. But I love that you have that nature and attitude, because it's like it would be impossible to think of you not doing that. But I think it's really instructive then for others who don't have that, or maybe they do and they just want even more of a way. Because I think, like, some people can go meditate in a cave and they're so tuned in, and then they get around people and it's hard. I used to be like
Mhm.
that.
Sure.
But now it's like life is our meditation, and those we're with, like, if we can be as tuned in as we can be while with them, not saying that's always the case, but
Mhm.
we're gonna like tap into more of what they need. And also, like you mentioned, we're gonna be more in tune with who we are, so we can kind of connect into our source of, like, what do we know, and how can
Mhm.
we confidently support families when they need that.
Yeah.
So I know I had, like, so many other thoughts of, when you mentioned, like, your thoughts on that. So, um,
Yeah, well, and it's have fun. Like you said, I think don't take yourself too seriously, and they won't either. They'll be like, "Okay, cool. Like this is I guess this is what we're doing." And there is times where you have to find those like
yeah,
that balance of like, "Nope, we got to do the work." Like that, I've had plenty of kids that are like, "No, I just want to go downstairs and play. No, I just want to play with this." Okay, after we do the work, we can do that.
yeah,
And still, being able to navigate that so that they don't just completely tune completely out to you as a practitioner, but it, have fun with it and let it organically happen. If something's not working, then try something new. Something's
yeah,
gonna stick enough to be able to. And then there's moments, when you have an infant that we're just working through some hard stuff. And I always remind the mom and dad, like, we're working through big stuff. Are you guys doing okay? Because we can keep going, and the other side of this is going to be so beautiful. So if we can work through this right now for the next 5 minutes, we can only imagine what's going to be on the other side of this. And that's usually what happens. And then they're like, oh, okay, that was worth it. So just, you know, let it organically happen and have fun.
yeah. And that's it's good. It's a true thing. When you're there, you can, um, be that source of comfort and also affirmation for the family,
Yes.
because it's about them. It's like they're one unit.
Hmm.
And also a very practical thing you mentioned in there that I think I want to highlight is, you said, yeah, it's about establishing rapport, and maybe even on this first time, you might not do everything and all of the things and all of the assessments and all of the techniques, and might not check in the mouth, and then I also know, that's good, because then it's not about, like, an agenda you have,
Hmm.
and it's about supporting a family. What I can think of so many instances where families come in from far away and they're like, "It's okay. I know, just in case you're wondering if you mind if my baby or kid cries, like," and I know that they're very well connected, so it's not like they don't care. They're like, "It's okay if it's for a little bit, because we just want to know more about the whatever, the
Yep.
palates or the oral restrictions, the tongue tie, lip tie, cheek ties, or any of those other things." Well, um, I said, "I know, I'm gonna hold that tension with you, because I wanna check it as much as you do." And so there's that whole thing, and it's always gonna be a really beautiful customized journey with that. But
Hmm.
what I love about, I wanna mention the floor 4 here, is that once I started to see it over and over again, by working in the mouth, working on the foot, working in the mouth on the thyroid, working in the mouth on the cranials, wherever it was. And then I got to that point where that systemic release happened and the floor dropped, tension, the tongue lifts, the lips, the cheeks, the palate shifts, and then these like 70 areas in the body loosen up. Well, I then was able to, for those really tough cases of, like, a 2-year old who has teeth and they
Yeah.
bite down, and my fingers are pretty strong by now.
Yep.
So I kind of figured out, and I think I'm frozen a little bit on the screen, but hopefully it'll move here really shortly. But I just I figured out how to angle my finger so that even if I got bit, it wouldn't hurt as much. But with
Mhm.
the with the 2-year-olds, with the people that you can't for whatever reason, it's the day after their tongue tie release surgery, and they're just feeling so sensitive. I started to more and more rely on the floor for um, as a way to work. Well, I'll just finish my
Yeah.
statement saying, um, it's amazing when you work with a floor of 4 and you work on these areas because then you can see this response happen, and then you can say, "Look, I might not have been able to work in your little one's mouth today," or, um, or even though we didn't, this whole dramatic shift that just happened, it tells
Mhm.
something that I know likely happened anyways. It's just I love the way that, as a parent and also as somebody who's sensitive to what, like, the needs are of a family, like, I really navigate that with a lot of care and attention because I'm a parent who's had 3 kids that have all had tongue ties. Sometimes it's hard. Okay, we've made it through some technical difficulties, but, Brooke, I would love to, like, put the focus back on, I definitely want people to find you, and can you tell us, for anybody listening, aside from they're gonna have links to everything in the show notes, what's the best way for people to, like, pursue more wisdom from you, sessions, things like that?
Thank you for that. Um, so right now we are doing a big rebrand. So right now you can find me at apricityspace.com.
Mhm.
That's my website. And then certainly follow along on Instagram. My handle is by Brooke Nicole. And I'd be happy to, if you reach out, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you just to see, how I can support you, whether that's from afar or right in person. If you decide to come wherever we are, for Sioux Falls or Des Moines. Um, yeah, those are like the two main ways you can get a hold of me though. So this is really cool that we're right in the middle of a rebrand. Apricity Space. Apricity is the warmth of the sun in
Mm,
winter. And that's what I wanted to truly create for people that walk through my doors, is because there can be dark times that you're going through hard things that you're just trying to find answers for. And that's why we called it Apricity Space, because that was truly the space that I wanted to create. But now we are rebranding a lot of our whole family stuff. And we are going to be under, we don't know exactly our website or anything yet. But we are going to be under the word pursuit, because
mhm.
pursuing healing, not perfection, in whatever journey it is that you're on. So pursuit is our word. So it'll be fun to see that those things shift. But for right now, I will still be under Pricity Space, and then obviously I will be at Infinity in Des Moines, Iowa as well. So
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, I'm so glad you told me more about I wanted to know more about apricity and what that
thank
meant,
you.
so I love that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's like the warmth of the sun, especially in winter, right? That's really cool.
absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's that's a family trait you all have. I can definitely attest to that with the way you all kind of are and the way it was to spend time with you and the way that you showed up to be a huge help for me when I was on this last big leg of my tour or the trainings. And I'm excited to hear about the new pursuit kind of overarching brand. So that's really exciting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay tuned for that. And yeah, I really love that you're gonna be in Des Moines and collaborating with bringing what you do to Josh Madsen's world there.
Oh,
Um,
same.
and yeah, so we delved into some topics that I know could seem to some people like very neat, niche and nuanced. And I do want to say
Mm.
they are, like Clubfoot, um, primitive reflexes, talked about tongue tie, and even touched on intuition and like tuning in and but it's like it's all with nervous system regulation.
Oh yeah,
This is like what we all for compromised to alchemized is about. There's all this going on. There's a big need for people to know more so that we can be resources for more people. And I think you did a good job of saying like, you're available as a resource. And if anybody does feel like that overwhelm or like I don't know what to do and I can't get to everybody out there, it's 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 in the end. At the end of the day, it's like we don't always need everything, but we need to have people in our corner who can vouch for us, support us, encourage us.
absolutely.
So reaching out to Brooke is a golden idea for that and more. Um, and yeah, I think that there's like some people who might say, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't have any of that. Maybe I'm just another kind of like a family member and or like a mom or a dad or a person on a journey, but they
Mhm,
might just feel really drawn to like the warmth with which you speak, the apricity you carry. And so some people are going through like dark or troubling times where it could feel cold, it could feel difficult, it could feel strained. And
mhm.
um, so, yeah, thanks for being a resource.
Well,
And I want
thank
to,
you.
yeah, any last thoughts on like
Mm,
what you want to share in part, please do. And then I'll definitely be excited to have people tune in and um, find out more about how they can learn from what you do and know and any
Sure.
support they may need.
Well, and I think just to kind of wrap up everything, when we're in pursuit of something, right? Whether it's your own journey or whether it's your child's journey, you know, every, especially for children, every child's journey is completely different, but every mother's hope is the same. And that's what brings everything together, like building your team and building the people in your corner that are going to support you, and be there for you and help you in whether it's I can't help you and I can send you to someone that's going to. I think that's everyone's hope in as they're pursuing whatever that journey is that they're on. And just being able to have a transformation of some sort. Um, I want to be that resource in any way I can because I was once there where I was like, I don't know where to turn. And I want people to know that I'm an open book. Like I will give you everything I know. And if I'm not the right person to help you, I at least know a lot of people that I can send you in the right direction.
Yeah, hands down the truth. So thanks, Brooke. What a blast.
Oh,
Good time
it's been
together.
my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So everybody, love to know how you find this time Brooks conversation with me. Please comment, and follow along and stay tuned because there's about to be some really exciting things in the works for Brooke, and then I'll be sure to share all of the wealth of how to find her on there. So thanks, Brooke, again for being with
Thank
us.
you. Thank you so much.
In these conversations, we do deep dives, and resources are aplenty. So please tune in and enjoy. And I'm so excited to have you along for the journey.